third speaker who's here with us, Advocate Kais Nasser. Advocate Nasser is a PhD student at the Tel Aviv University, writing his doctoral thesis on the planning system in Israel, has a great deal of experience in legal work with respect to planning and construction in Jerusalem, and is an expert in the field. He was also involved in the struggles, legal struggles around many diverse topics, including the Mughrabi Gate, the courthouse in the Western Wall house, and the entry to the Silwan village. Advocate Nasser, please. I would first of all thank the organizers of the conference for this very important evening. It is a very important topic, and I'm full of hope that we will emerge from this evening full of ideas and insights that will allow us to bridge over and mediate and bring together closer the different parties and perhaps change a little bit the status quo and the current situation as it is, in the way I will soon present. When I was a lawyer that was involved in many of the plans that existed in the area of Al-Aqsa, Temple Mount, Haram al-Sharif, whichever name you call it, and the Western Wall Plaza, initially in the Mughrabi ramp case, and then the Strauss House, and then the courthouse, in between the document that pretended to be a comprehensive planning to the Western Wall Plaza. And based on this experience, I emerged with a few ideas or perhaps conclusions, and actually I had a certain impression with the functioning of the Antiquities authorities. I want to argue in my presentation that we neither have genuine discussion concerning the role of Antiquities in such a sensitive place as this, and we don't have any well-established institution that can lead a planning policy in the antiquities field that can perhaps reflect to the different populations all the competing values in the area. And my argument also says, and I'll soon introduce this to you, that in all those plans, the Mughrabi ramp, the Strauss House, and the comprehensive document of the Western Wall Plaza, the issue of antiquities was just a byproduct. It was something that was an underneath layer. The plan was constantly advanced, and the argument of the importance of antiquities was always attached to it, and the Antiquities Authority always joined those plans without actually allowing for a genuine discussion to take place concerning the importance of those antiquities, whether it's going to be antiquities first and then planning, or planning first and then antiquities. My argument will be presented in the following presentation. So that's a list of the plans that I was involved in with respect to the Western Wall Plaza. For example, the Mughrabi ramp, there are those who can argue that it's important and it actually rescued certain things, and I don't want to argue with facts, but some of the facts one must bear in mind pertain to that partial collapse of that historic ramp. It was exploited by certain elements and therefore completely demolished, even though there were good proposals to actually recover it by paying 30,000 shekels without putting the whole place into chaos and the entire world even. And that plan was ultimately advanced. The declared reason for that plan was the security urgency. Namely, the security entities wanted to keep a ramp to Haram al-Sharif, to Temple Mount, and they saw security urgency in that, as it needed to be advanced even without a comprehensive plan for the Western Wall Plaza. And when they demolished the ramp to the ground and the antiquities were discovered, they started saying that the aim was to recover and preserve the antiquities that were discovered. So various such arguments were evoked. The first declarative justification to the plan was security reasons. The second plan, that came 2 years after almost, was the Strauss House. The Strauss House plan pertains to the eastern wall very close to the Western Wall. And actually, the argument was the urgency to have a police station in the Western Wall Plaza. That was the argument they used, because there are so many visitors and so many incidents, and we need to have a police station. So a building of a 3-story was proposed, and 1 story was to be occupied by the police. So then we again had to contend with the security reason of the police, and the Antiquity Authority once again joined them and gave them the green light, and never ever was there a genuine deliberation held if we at all need such a police station in such an area. So in the meantime, the district committee was convened in 2010, and it held a discussion, a one-day discussion. And here I link with the previous speaker, Professor Alona, who said that without sharing this with the public, without releasing any notice to the press even, this district committee on the 26th of October 2010 convened a discussion which it called the discussion to plan a comprehensive plan for the Western Wall Plaza. And lo and behold, since 1967, never ever was such a discussion held by the district committee. And the answer was that, as a matter of fact, in the framework of this legal procedure that we had in the Mugrabi ramp, the petition that we submitted against the Mugrabi ramp, the district court in Jerusalem accepted it and said it's impossible to advance local topical plans. And the Mugrabi ramp had to do not only with the bridge, but massive expansion for the southern area. Musira, the Chief Justice, said, no, this Ainun Tesha plan, which is valid in the Western Wall area, prohibits advancing any topical plans that do not pertain to the Western Wall. So the ruling was given on the 5th of September, and within a month, not a year or 2 years, a month after that ruling, the district committee convenes, discusses the comprehensive planning for the Western Wall Plaza without publishing this to the press, without any, disclosure of the plans, without seeing this as a statutory plan that needs to be published and await objections for 60 days. Nothing of it. So even such a serious document, such a serious planning was done under so much pressure without any transparency, and the price, as a matter of fact, also pertained to the price paid because of lack of genuine discussion concerning the values of the Western Wall Plaza, the ramifications of planning in that area, not only for Jews, but also for Muslims and the entire Arab world. And I'll soon say a few more words about that. And then one of the latest plans pertained to the Liba House, the core house, and the security argument came to an end. We used that in the Mugrabi ramp and also in the Strauss house. And there was another argument, this programmatic need to have a visitors center in the Western Wall Plaza. The argument was voiced that millions of visitors attend that area, so we need to have a visitors center. It's such an urgent programmatic need. It's a must. And the program advanced along the same platform, and it was done according to the same level of urgency, and still, and once again, no real discussion is held. And by the way, we must also add that, as a matter of fact, the Liba House, that core house, was an excavated area in which the Antiquities authorities excavated. And all along, that construction plan was advanced. So the fear was raised that the Antiquities Authority did not provide answers of what preceded what. You excavated for a future project, or that the project came only after the excavations. As far as we're concerned, we argued that the excavations were as something sort of a fait accompli, something that was merely a preparation for the next idea, like the Givati Parkway in the Kadem Center. The Antiquities authorities had their diggings there. In certain moments, private elements entered, and all of a sudden such a grand complex emerged without having any real discussion concerning the true needs concerning that area. And I'm asking myself, why? I'm asking myself, it might be seen as such a theoretical question when seeing such practical issues. Why don't we have such a real, discussion? And I will say very briefly, very quickly, without giving a very exhaustive overview, that the law of planning and construction and the law of antiquities, which are the main rules and laws pertaining to this matter, there's no exhaustive regulation, no comprehensive corpus that deals with the way we handle antiquities. And the main article, the only article in the law of planning and construction pertaining to antiquities is 99, and it says that in place where there is a plan that pertains to holy sites or those sites that need preservations, one needs to consult with the Minister of Education and Culture. Obviously, these powers were delegated, and that's the only provision in the law of planning and construction. And this article does not say what considerations and what values are there, and how the Minister of Education would approve. What values and considerations would he or she have? What parameters would be used by them? And the second provision is in the law of antiquities, clause 29, and it says that the old city is a declared antiquities site, and it says that every action of building, constructing, paving, digging needs the approval of the Antiquities Authority. And when we were talking about the 22.3, clause 22.3, those antiquities that are used for religious purposes, the administrator would not approve an excavation or any other digging unless there is a ministerial committee that would approve it, headed by the Minister of Justice or Minister of Religions or Minister of Education. These are the only legal provisions that deal with the topic, and there's nothing in them that tells us truly what should be done when it comes to plans that pertain to antiquities. So a full discretion is given to the antiquities director, and I have no way of measuring his decisions, no social or professional way to measure whether he was right or wrong, probable or improbable. The second argument that can explain why we have no such deliberation is that these plans were constantly marketed by the developers as a national project, and it has many indications to that. Inter alia, but not only, has to do with the developers of these plans. The Foundation for the Heritage of the Western Wall is an NGO that is financed by the Prime Minister's office, and the government deposited the responsibility for the Western Wall in the hands of the Western Wall Heritage Foundation, and they gave it to a developer, and the developer marketed it as if this was a national project that is so important to advance. And that raises a question. I doubt whether these plans would have been seen as important had the developer been private and did not connect to or was not commissioned by the Prime Minister's office. So to this very day, despite all the legal procedures, despite all the protests of the archaeologists and the protest of the planners around those plans, to this very day, we still do not have a very clear, transparent plan for the Antiquities authorities, not even a statutory plan for the old city. At one point, the Antiquities authorities advanced and promoted a certain plan for the old city, but it remained, in my humble opinion, on the desk of the Antiquities Authority. It was never published, no discussion was held. So today, when you discuss these plans and when you want to tell the Antiquities authorities and ask them what policies have they, it's the salami method. They move from one plan to another without having any comprehensive plan concerning all that. Another argument that I might believe is influential is the financial one. These plans, at least when it comes to the Strauss House and the Korhaus and the Givati parking place, there is a financial considerations. These excavations, because of the law of antiquities, are financed by the developer of the plan. As far as the Antiquities Authority, not only does it not lose, it has very good revenues from those excavations, and that's a very important financial argument. So they don't mind that much if they do advance those plans through private developers. And I would like to sharpen this point. We argued, for example, in the Kedem Center that when the district committee discusses the plan of the Kedem Center, when the developer is a private entity, such as the Elad NGO, we have a certain ideology there. We have a certain agenda there. You cannot just allow him to be a proxy of the Antiquities Authority that is supposedly neutral, scientific, and devoid of any ulterior motives. Where is the Antiquities Authority? It is actually a contractor of that developer. It is a means in the hands of that developer. And I move on. One more thing that makes it difficult to judge and gauge those plans is that the district committee or the planning committees, because of their makeup, because of the valid national urban planning, they don't have the tools, neither the expertise to judge whether in this case one needs to approve building on top of antiquities or prohibit that construction. The makeup of the district committee, the national committee, the law of construction prevents those committees from having good enough tools to judge those plans. And obviously, that was discovered in the plan of the Kedem Center, the Antiquities Authority versus a very distinguished group of the Antiquities Authorities. And how can they judge who is more right than who? And obviously, let alone the court, according to the administrative Israeli law, they cannot intervene in planning matters. They don't have the tools to do that. So I don't have any planning venue or any legal venue that actually determine this dispute when it comes to such cases. Another point that is very important is sharing the information with the public. When you talked about the document, the policy document in 2010, I think that the Western Wall Plaza is not only important to the Jews, to the Muslims, to the Arabs, to the entire world, the old city in general. Professor Reiter talked about the enveloping area, and I can talk about the old city in general. It is a place that is so important to so many populations, and when such a plan is submitted, where such a discussion was taking place. A resident of Afula, they might be Jewish, and one living in Nazareth, who might be Arab. How do they know about these plans? If they don't have any right to express their opinions with respect to what should be built and what should not be built in the Western Wall Plaza or area, shouldn't they have the right to object or promote? These private NGO or private entities that pertain to say that we are the representatives of the State of Israel. We represent the Israeli public, and this is the Western Wall's good. And on the other side, there's no organization that would say, that would give the counter arguments, that would say, no, we as a public, we as citizens have our say. And I'm nearing the end, and I would like to say that those who do their plannings, the developers, the Antiquities Authority, the district committee, the objectors, and all the different populations, we do not live in a bubble. We're not alone. There are so many circles that are related to this particular site. We have the international community that is also subject to international law that still sees East Jerusalem as an occupied territory. Whether you like it in the State of Israel or not, that is the statement, the latest statement of the international law. So, when we advance those projects, we should also bear in mind what the international community thinks on the legal level as well as the political level. And we also have UNESCO, and the Old City is a World Heritage Site, and there are demands and requirements in that convention. And UNESCO is also a mixed entity. And we have the Arab-Palestinian side, and they too have their own demands to establish their own state, their own independent state. And they too demand that their capital would be Jerusalem. Whether we accept it or not, it is a demand that we have to take into account. We, the citizens of the State of Israel, we are also a very important cycle. When one plans, the district authority, the developers, they should have loyalty to the Israeli public. They should plan for the good of the collective, the good of the collective of the citizens of the State of Israel. Does it advance their safety, their peace? Does it reflect their aspirations? And I think And with that, I'll end. My impression is that to this very day, antiquities were used as a tool to defy, because these moves were unilateral. And perhaps somebody can tell me, excuse me, in any case, the Muslim population or the Waqf do not share this with us. They do not cooperate with us. We can think about this, but to this very day, these unilaterally advanced plans were merely a tool to defy the other side. And there is a potential for bridging between the parties in this site. And we have to think about antiquities as a bridging tool. And we have to think about the antiquities as a tool that includes all the populations. And I think that the human being is no less important than the antiquities. The future is no less important than history. When one plans the past, namely antiquities, one has to bear in mind the future. When you plan the past, you have to think about peace that we all aspire for and we all wish we'll see in our very life. Thank you very much.